Hello and welcome back to the Extra Innings Baseball Show. I'm your host, Logan Stump, and with me today is a man that needs no introduction and has somehow found his way into Camden Yards once again, even though there's a work stoppage. It's Jordan Wiegand. Jordan, how you doing?
You know, Logan, you've been trying to get me to do this podcast for the last month, and you keep sending proposal after proposal, and I keep sending them back. They haven't really met my demands. So, I don't know. I feel a little betrayed by this, but I'm now team play ball, so I'm here recording for you. And for the fans. For the fans. Not for you. Not for the money. It's for the fans.
I feel like that's how the press conference should go when they finally do come up with a deal. Like when they come up with a deal and it ends the lockout, there should be some kind of press conference where it's like, you know what? We really did this to do all of these things and all these things. And then at the end, they should go, oh, yeah, and the fans are important too. That's right. We forgot about them because this is ultimately just screwing the fans and really nobody else. I mean, it's just it's now gotten to a point where they're fighting over just money and things that they could be solving in the years to come. But it's got to be frustrating. I can't imagine sitting in the rooms.
Yeah, well, you know, I got a clip for people that are not sure. I've got a clip of Manfred press conference from last week. So this is a short, 2-minute clip. Just listen to Rob Manfred here.
Press conference in which I am going to cancel some regular season games. We worked hard to avoid an outcome that's bad for our fans, bad for our players, and bad for our clubs. I want to assure our fans that our failure to reach an agreement was not due to a lack of effort by either party. The players came here for 9 days. They worked hard. They tried to make a deal, and I appreciate their effort. Our committee of club representatives committed to the process. They offered compromise after compromise and hung in past the deadline to make sure that we exhausted every possibility of reaching an agreement before the cancellation of games. So far, the parties have failed to achieve their mutual goal of reaching an agreement. The unfortunate thing, maybe the most unfortunate thing, is that agreement, the one we've offered to our players, offered huge benefits for our fans and for our players. We never used the phrase last, best, and final offer with the union. We said to them that it was our best offer prior to the deadline to cancel games. Our negotiations are deadlocked right now, but I'm not going to get into, that's different than using the legal term impasse, and I'm not going to do that.
If it's not your last, best, and final offer, why would they have accepted it? If they knew they could get something better later.
Yeah, look, I think that take it or leave it in a negotiation is not something that I think is usually productive. I think always at the end there's a little wiggle room somewhere, and I think that we'd like to keep the idea that we're willing to go back to the table and figure out whether we can make an agreement.
That was last week when they canceled the first two series, which are now back on the table, by the way, if they can get a deal done tonight. You'll know if they get a deal done tonight by the time you listen to this podcast. But so a lot of our stuff might be old takes at this point. But I did like the reporter asking Logan, okay, if you never use this as our final offer, then why would they even bother accepting it?
Yeah.
If they know they could get something better. And Manfred's reason was, well, we just don't like using the words last and final offer. It's pretty much what his answer was. I don't know. I mean, he kind of got caught there, I think.
It was weird. I mean, you're right. It sounded like he didn't know that was going to be a question. And then it was kind of stumbling backwards going, I didn't really expect that to be asked. But
I don't think he thought people would challenge him that much. I mean, the last time they had any sort of issue like this, Logan, was in 94. Yeah. And most people were just pro-owner because, one, the players had initiated the strike, right?
Mm-hmm.
But social media wasn't around for the players to even give their side of the story the way it is today. So
Right.
I think he thought, I'll just go out there and I'll say these things and they'll eat it up.
Yeah, so I mean, it's gotten to a point too, like you said, the players are getting more involved. I think you're starting to see more appearances by the players. I know Adam Wainwright was seen recently just talking about the lockout itself, and all of them had the same sentiment. All of them had the same. We want to play baseball, but this is the first time that they felt. I feel like they felt like they've had some major leverage, and I think that going into this season and after all this pandemic stuff, I think they felt that they could get a deal done. And then, there's constant reporting that these things are getting closer to being done and agreed upon, but then something else comes out, like the international draft, like it becomes, a new monster. And I feel like, I don't know, there's a lot of conflicting reports out there. You and I were talking back and forth before the show, and just sending tweets to one another. And it seems like, you got people saying that this thing's, just dependent upon can they figure out the international drafts, and then you've got other people coming out and saying, well, that's kind of the starting point. They can't even get any kind of agreement on that. So it really is. It'll be interesting to kind of see where they fall on that, because I just don't know. Where as a fan, you kind of look at it from the outside, and you don't really understand what's going on in the war room as they're arguing back and forth, between players, ownership, the league itself, trying to figure out what's going on. But I don't know. It's let me ask you, Jordan, how much longer are we predicting this goes on? And do you really think that this could, this is really starting to get into a point where a lot of fans, even because we cover MLS, we've had a lot of our friends and stuff tweeting at different, teams and stuff, saying, if you're watching baseball or dependent on baseball, come over to MLS because it's quickly catching baseball in popularity. Does this hurt us going forward? Do you feel like this deal gets done within the next month and we're playing baseball in April, or you feel like this thing's getting prolonged?
I think the deal has to be done tonight for us to have 2 months of a season. To only miss 2 months, because here's the issue, right? Right now they're arguing over, let's talk about they're arguing over. There is a thing called pre-arbitration bonus pool, which was just created for the CBA. So the players wanted $100 million or more, and the owners want to give like $5 million, right? So they've slowly made their way to, the owners have slowly made their way to $40 million, while the players have made their way down to like $80 million. So still a gap there. But I feel like this isn't something that the players should really be pushing so hard for, because this is brand new money now. So yes, you could introduce it at the $40 million level that the MLB is proposing, and 5 years from now, you can probably try to get that worked up a bit more. The other thing that they're worried about is minimum salary. So it was in the $500K this year. I get that that's low for baseball and sports, but for the regular Joes like me, that's about 10 times our salary, right? So hard to feel really sorry on that end. Now, that is up to the players wanting 710, I think, and the owners at 700. That's close enough. Just make the deal. That's $10K a person or whatever. Either side should just make up that ground. I think that's fine. The players that are everyday players are probably going to be very upset if this doesn't go through, because they're gaining the biggest salary increase in CBA history for baseball. This would be the largest increase, like $130,000 a person. So that's pretty big. Players have made some huge progress on that. The league was stuck at 600,000 some until this week. So take the wins where you can get them. The players have got it their way with 12 playoff teams. Owners want 14. So right now they're sticking with 12. I think that's fine. I'd rather 12 than 14. 14's getting too much. Another thing that they're arguing over is now the international draft. And I do want to say, I want to clarify something, because the way that it's been presented to us, this whole negotiation period, as I followed along very closely every deadline here, this is like the third or fourth deadline, is that they wanted to have the owners want an international draft. The players don't. So here's a few reasons. The players don't want it because players will always want the option to have free agency or free choice, freedom of choice for any of their players. Right now, international players can choose their destination as young as 16, 17, however young they get signed during the international period. They would probably see this as a backwards here of, well, now my choice is restricted for the international players. And they are fighting for, and I know people say, well, the international players that this would, contain are not yet in the union. But the union's job is to fight for players even going in the future, right? That's why they keep trying to raise the salaries. That's why they're trying to make these better deals, is for any player that comes into this league later, they've left it better than it was before them. So that's why they feel like they need to kind of make up that ground from the last two CBAs, is because they feel like they haven't done that. So that's why they're kind of not wanting an international draft. Now, the way it was presented last week, when the last minute deal came in and Manfred stood up and canceled games, journalists or the players, whoever was feeding this stuff, said that they last minute slipped in the international draft, and that's why they had to decline this. What we're now hearing from, I have some tweets here that says, from Evan Drylick here, an MLB official, this was at 5:35, an MLB official said the league has included the international draft in every relevant proposal. The union official pretty much says the same thing here when he says, but the international draft has been rejected every time it was raised. So that doesn't sound like they slipped it in last minute. It sounds like from that last best offer that Manfred didn't want to call last best offer, it was always included in there, even in that one and before that. So for me, I read that as, okay, then why are we acting like this is another thing today that's being thrown in here? It sounds like the league has always been wanting this in there. The league wants it because they want more of these international players to be able to go to smaller market teams. There's probably some evil reasons why too, right? They're talking about maybe even cutting more minor league teams if this goes through, which I don't know how that would work. The Hispanic players and the Latino players that do not want to get rid of this say that it would affect the Dominican Republic and all of their things there. So one of the new offers right now is they have an option. International draft in exchange for eliminating the draft pick compensation. So this is what the player's been trying to get rid of too. At the end of a year, players get offered a qualifying offer. And if that player gets signed, then the team that loses that free agent gets a draft pick. And what that has done is caused some people, like I think it was Dallas Keuchel, right? Mm-hmm. That got signed in after the draft last year. So he missed 2 or 3 months of the season because he had that qualifying offer on him. And once that passed, he was able to get picked up without a draft pick attached to him. So that's why they're saying it's hurting some of our experienced veterans. Mm-hmm. So now they say, all right, well, we can get rid of that, but we'll have an international draft. Or option 2, no draft, qualifying offer stays the same. Option 3, eliminate the draft pick compensation and give players until November 15th to agree to an international draft beginning in 2024. If they do not agree to the draft by November 15th, the CBA would reopen in 2024 as if it expired, and we go through all this again in 2 years. That is probably their best option if they don't want to agree to a draft right now and still play ball. Because I haven't even got around to my biggest complaint here and why the deal needs to be done tonight is if the league does cancel games, and doesn't pay them, because what they've said is, while Rob Manfred has canceled games this week, he said, you know what, we'll add like 3 or 4 days to the end of the season. We'll make up stuff on off days, and we'll pay you 162 games. If this deal doesn't go through tonight, and they do actually cancel stuff, they're going to not play 162 games, which means then, while all this other stuff is going on, they have to agree to, how much are you going to pay me for? How many games are you going to pay me for? What percentage of my salary am I going to get? How's this going to affect my service time?
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that, that's going to drag this on for even more. So that's why I'm saying it has to be done tonight, because unless if MLB thinks that they're making progress and can make it till tomorrow and not cancel any more games, otherwise this is going to have to be done soon, so that way they can start the spring training, so that way they can make up these games, and that way they can get into being paid 162 games. And that's where I feel like this might be, ultimately the union, the MLB might be doing this to go break the union, right? Because the younger players are going to be really pissed if the older players turn this down, I think, because the older players already made their money. And the CBT, like the collective bargaining tax, that is a huge issue as well, only affects the highest players. That pre-arbitration bonus pool only affects the best players. So the younger players, or the players that are just like, replacement level or whatever, however you want to determine them by WAR or whatever, are going to say, I can make 200 grand more almost if you just let me play this year. And I don't want to miss that money because I'm the one that needs it more than Max Scherzer, who just signed a huge deal. Like, that is probably going to be the thought process behind the younger players. Now, it might also, upset the international players if they agree to one of these with the draft, because they're very against it. So that's why I think the best option is kick this can down the road, take these months through November to figure out how you implement a draft. There's even some of these academies, Logan, that say, this is actually a pretty good idea. Like, this might be okay. And David Ortiz came out against it, but he's saying it can't just be implemented right away. And it seems like it's not going to be implemented right away. So just get this done. Kick the can down the road. Get paid for this year. Play 2 seasons full of games. And we'll go over it again in 2024.
And then the biggest thing, too, is like what you said, just talking about it, the owners are always going to get the advantage. The owners are always going to have the advantage. The owners have the money. The owners are what make up this league, unfortunately. I think the players are always going to have less leverage, I think. And I think the longer that this goes on, like you said, the players are just losing valuable time, and they're losing money. And I listened to Talking Baseball today, and they said actually that the TV deals, you don't start losing money on the TV deals until May 1st.
Yeah.
Like that's when the owners would start to feel the hurt in the pockets. So, I mean, these guys...
Can I break the news?
Yeah.
The MLBPA rejected the 3 offers, and now the league has canceled 2 more series. We're not playing till at least April 14th.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, just going into, it seems like there's a lot more on the table that they're obviously not reporting, because it's negotiation tactics. They don't want to report everything. So everything, like we said, they'll get past one hurdle, Jordan, and I think then it becomes another hurdle that they're having to get past. And I think that's ultimately what's happening. It's become these players and these owners trying to get the best for their situation. And it's scary because they talked about the players, and Ken Rosenthal was quoted as saying that this is the most unified he's ever felt, the player pool. And that could be scary for the owners. It could be scary for, fans that are just wanting baseball to happen, because these players really do feel like they have quite a bit of leverage to try to, make the owners wiggle a little bit. But I just don't know where the owners have lost so much over the last couple of years. Like, everybody's lost a ton over the last couple of years. So this is not going to get better, I don't think. Like, I think this is, and the longer that we have to keep canceling series, the worse that this is going to get.
So here it is by Evan Drelick. Okay. MLB has canceled more games, pushing opening day to April 14th. The players rejected MLB's options and sent back a counter proposal. That counter was not enough to convince the owners not to bring down more games. The counter proposal the players sent to MLB, per the source, parties have until November 15th to agree to an international draft. If they don't agree on it, then the qualifying offer returns after the 2022-2023 offseason, and their international system also returns to status quo. So blame whoever you want to blame, but we should not be this far apart on something that is so close. I mean, the numbers are pretty close now. And here's the thing too. There's no way MLB was going to accept the union's proposal because MLB wants to be the one to have their deal proposed, so it doesn't look like they're cowering in fear. And I'm assuming that is exactly what the MLBPA is doing. And now we're ending up without another few weeks of baseball. Who knows? I mean, are they going to be at these games on now, or do we have to go through the bull crap of, well, now how many games are we getting? And how many games? I just want a full season. Why is this so difficult every time with this league? How can the NFL, the NBA, and every other league have no problems with this stuff? NHL does. It's the leagues that are falling apart in relevance that are having issues with this. And they act like there's no money to split both sides. I don't care if that's taboo to say anymore, because I feel like the offer was fair to the MLBPA. They could have accepted it. I feel like the counter proposal was fair for the owners to accept. What are we doing? Taylor Twellman, insert right here. What are we doing? Because this is just heartbreaking, man. I just want to be able to watch some baseball.
Just feels like it's going to keep going. I mean, it feels weird. It feels ominous. And like you said, Jordan, with a league that is currently suffering, that has been suffering for years now, and they've talked about the popularity of it going down. The popularity amongst young kids has dropped tremendously, and this is showing the kids that while playing and having fun's more important, I think that the money grab is much more important to everybody involved. I mean, it gets worse for every single side. The longer that this goes on, the more that it starts to look like you just want more money. You're not willing to budge a couple million. That's ultimately what it becomes. If you're this close and agreeing on the actual numbers that you want to present to each other, and you're that close and you can't come to some kind of medium ground, whether it's $2 or $3 million, and it just seems ridiculous at this point. And there's going to be very frustrated people. There's going to be frustrated fans. And not to mention, you have all these people that are out of work that work for these baseball teams. And this shows just how much, too, that they really do care about those people in their organization, because those people are jobless right now.
Yeah, and both of them are going to play the PR spin here. Both sides here are going to spin the PR and say, well, the union's saying, hey, we were actually expecting a counter offer and not being presented with 3 offers. Then the league is going to say, we've said we need an international draft. We're not going to scrap it just because we can't agree to it. I don't know. I feel like I'm just so disillusioned by everybody involved, because to me, anything that appeals to the fans, the way Manfred did in the clip we listened to, that's all just PR bullcrap. They don't care about us. And I think the players are the same. They're trying to get the most money they can, and you can say if they're worth that or not, which I feel like most people would say they're worth to get as much as they can. But when it starts interfering with games and stuff like this, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to lose fans. That is real. That is real. We're going to lose baseball fans because people are going to, no matter how it's spun, people are going to be frustrated with both sides. They're going to say what I just said. I don't see this ever happen with the NFL and NBA. Why can't this league ever figure it out? And they're going to move on to other things. And, we talked about it in 2020 when the owners, we didn't talk about it on here, but you and I texted, in 2020 when the owners purposely did not give a good deal until the magic number of 60 games was all that they could offer. The players wanted 100, and the owners stalled until, we can actually accept this now because we can only fit 60 games in. That's bullcrap, you know? And I don't know. I feel like while I said that they should probably take the deal that they kick it down the road, the real possibility is that in 2 years we would be right back to another lockout. Like, I wouldn't put my money on not having a lockout if they took that option, because the owners would probably do the same thing over again. So I can see why maybe they were hesitant to do that. But now they're probably going to lose 10% of their salary over things that are a made up arbitration pool that never existed before. And not getting enough of an increase of what they wanted salary wise, and an international draft. And really, it all seems to come down to they didn't want the qualifying offers, which affect like 8 players a year. So the league said, okay, well, how about international draft instead of the qualifying offer? And then they said, no, I don't want that either. And I can understand them saying those two things shouldn't be linked together.
Mm-hmm.
But they're in this negotiation, they're linked together. So you have to take what you can get. And I do think that the MLBPA needs new leadership. I think Tony Clark, he did awful in the last 2016 one. I didn't think he did that great in 2020. And he was set to have like the biggest increase in all of this. He was set to have the biggest increase in CBT, the collective bargaining tax. He was set to have the biggest increase in the salary, and none of it was enough. So I really feel like, what is he going to do now? We're going to miss months now. If this is for real, if they do not continue negotiating, we're going to miss months, because, again, they're going to have to say, well, now you're only getting 90% of your pay. Now you're only getting 80% of your pay because we're not starting until May. And remember, whenever they agree to a deal, we're still going to need 3 to 4 weeks of spring training. They're not even going to be able to use their spring training facilities soon because the minor leagues are going to be using some of those facilities. So what are they going to do? Are they going to have minor leagues, like spring training in their major league parks? Are we going to go through that in the middle of June? I don't know. It's just, both sides needs new leadership. It's no mistake that the commissioner is awful. He does what the owners do, and there's a reason he wins all the time. He's really good at his job of negotiating, because now there will be a bunch of people online that say F the players, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to take the owner side, and that's exactly what he wanted. But also, just take the deal. Take the best deal you can get. You're much better. I think they said 94% of players would have made more money with this new deal. Is the draft worth that much to say, can't do it? Especially when academies in those countries are saying, we can actually make this work. And the league is saying, you actually can give 2 years until this thing starts. I don't understand why that's such a big deal.
Fun tweets to go through. Now, Jordan, the season is 172 games or 72 days, which is now what you would need to play for service time. Players are soon going to start getting screwed on that end too. You've got the owners who started collecting money, and actually there was a tweet from somebody that follows and covers the Twins, and his name is Ted Schwarzler, and he was talking about the fact that by not playing in April and May, the Twins ownership is actually going to save $6 million based on revenue and everything else like that, and the cost of keeping the stadium and upkeeping the stadium and paying the people working the stadium. Also, another interesting point, many of the season ticket holders are now really upset because that's 2 weeks gone. That might not be money they ever see again, and it's money that they started collecting back in August and September. So people are tweeting out now that we've unfortunately been funding this scam of just going back and forth on things that seem meaningless at this point. I mean, you would have thought after 2020, Jordan, that some of these people would have been like, the fans just want to see baseball, and the fans are only going to be happy when they see baseball. They don't care about us arguing over who gets more millions than the other. And it really has, And that's what sucks. Like you said, it's like upwards of 90% of these players would make more money based on the new CBA. And I get it. I get that the owners are always scummy, but that's every company you work for. I mean, that's every company that anybody ever worked for. The people at the top are willing to take the money away from the people at the bottom. And there's never much said in anything else. And it's wild to me because these people make way more money than we will ever dream of making. These people could fund my life after signing a 1-year contract for whatever it might be. I mean, this is where you really do start to see the blood in the water. You see fans attacking players, fans will attack the owners, fans won't go to games now. You've already had a hard time filling stadiums. Now you're really going to have a hard time filling stadiums. The younger generation is going to go, you know what? What can I do in the meantime? They're going to go watch MLS, Jordan. Now you got
they're going to play video games.
Yeah.
They're going to find some other hobby. Look,
Right.
94, baseball was in a really good spot because it was like the biggest sport, right? It was this and football. And then guess what happened? The strike happened and attendance plummeted so much that it wasn't until really Cal Ripken trying to break the streak of Lou Gehrig did people start paying attention. And he had the home run record that people start really paying attention again, and stadiums were full. We don't have anything close to that. There's no record coming up to break. There's nothing to get fans to care. And before you only had basic cable channels in 94, you have the internet now, and you have unlimited streaming options, video games to play. I mean, there's a million things that they could be doing other than sitting there watching baseball. And we already saw baseball declining just because of the pace of play and everything like that was killing the game, which they're trying to fix as well in the CBA. Maybe we'll talk. My plan was to go over some of those rule changes and ask what we thought, but now I feel like we're so down. We don't even know if those rule changes are going to exist because of this deal not being accepted. And then with the owners, like you said, the Twins saving money because they won't have to play a month of baseball. Maybe don't own a baseball team then. What is the problem? You own this team. You know what? Then shorten the season. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's got to be a way around it. If you don't want to play in April, start the season in May. Like, why are we so concerned about still getting? And how long until the TV people wake up and say, we're paying you for 162, and we don't actually refund you unless you play 140, under 140. You've done this now 2 years in a row where we're going to have to not refund your money, but we still don't get our full games. Like, that would be kind of suspicious if I'm ESPN or Fox or TBS or now Apple TV and NBC, who are now just signing deals with them, because they're paying for those games and they don't refund the money unless if only like 20 games are not played. If this becomes a thing in 2020 and this year, you're like, okay, like, we can't have this every CBA where you're losing money that we're paying you because of the way the contract's written. What if the TV people start writing in contracts that we get refunded if there's a lockout? Can we do something like that? Can there be some pressure so that billionaires are held in check? Like, there's got to be some way to make this game better where the owners just don't get to roll over the players. And, everybody rolling over on the fans. Like, that is, like, if you can't afford a month of staffing a stadium and putting on baseball in April because it's a little colder than usual, don't be a baseball owner. Maybe all of the owners should be like Steve Cohen and actually have frickin' unlimited money.
Yeah. And again, going through Twitter, the players responded after rejecting the 3 options. They responded with the proposal, and the league said they're not even looking at it. They'll reject it immediately. We're now 2 weeks canceled. And the biggest thing that I'm taking away from this, Jordan, is just the fact that just how bad these relationships are starting to get. Like, the tension between the two groups is growing stronger as time goes on. Like, this is not getting better each day that these collapse. We're not going to have another discussion until maybe tomorrow. So they start talking tomorrow, and then next week they usually, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they usually take off. Sunday night they might get started up again to kind of try to figure things out. But it just seems like, the longer that this goes on, the dirtier it gets, and it seems like, what they did agree on before. Now, they're taking this back to each of their representatives and saying, well, how about we cut this since they're, not being so friendly with us on this side. and then it just becomes more negotiation tactics. And I don't know. And then you also have to think about the fact when a deal does get completed, you then also have all these other problems now because of the delay of the season. You're going to have hurt players. You're going to have guys that have been training. They're going to have there's going to be some fallout from people talking in these negotiations that shouldn't have been talking in these negotiations. It's going to be a big black eye the longer that this goes on for the league. I mean, could you imagine it seems like, okay, well, we signed a deal, but here in 2024, we're going to kick the can again. And I think fans are going to say, get the deal done and stop making it to where, I mean, it's been 97 days or something like that. And to begin with, they don't even talk to each other. I mean, this just looks really bad on everybody involved in the league. And again, it's over a game that we should all be able to enjoy and love. And it seems like they're going to be taking that away from us for the next couple of months.
Here's the thing. I feel like both sides are really just focused on trying to win the deal, win the public perception of, oh, we won. And let's not underestimate the amount of heat Tony Clark got in 2016 when they agreed to a deal that they thought was going to be good and then turned out awful. Like, there's a reason why they're trying to get all of this back in one CBA, is because they feel like they didn't make a good deal last time. That's not the way to negotiate, though, because the owners know that that's probably what you're trying to do. So the owners are now using that against you. And the owners can now say, well, we feel like we made some very fair deals here. And we even put the 162 back on the table, Logan. That's what we did. Like, they're able to kind of spin that however they want. The players are going to spin that however they want. But if the deals were really that similar, any of these two teams could have just accepted the deal. It really is stupid. It's so stupid. And like you said, people are not going to go to the games.
Yeah.
We don't have, like I said, a record or anything coming up to be like, oh, we gotta, like, who is going to get people back to the stands? I'd say the biggest thing close to that would be Ohtani, to see a pitcher hitter, right? Like, that's probably the biggest thing, but he doesn't come around to every ballpark. And let's just say Angels games are not everywhere on TV. So even that wouldn't probably really drive up the interest. I feel like people outside of baseball don't even know who Ohtani is anyway. And he just won MVP. So there's just a real issue with perception. And like you said, the relationship just continues to degrade every single CBA negotiation. And that's why I thought you take the deal that's best for you and try to get more next 5 years, because I feel like maybe they would be able to come back from that animosity because they say, you know what? We improved from 2016. 2016 was a dumpster fire. We've done so much better than that deal right now. We're in a good spot. That next time they wouldn't be trying to make up for another 2 or 3 CBAs. But that may put them in a better headspace. Even then, maybe Tony Clark wouldn't even be part of the union. I don't know how long these people last in their positions. But instead, the players disagree on it. They send a counteroffer that they know the owners are not going to agree to. So that way they can say, well, the owners didn't accept it. That's the kind of semantics that we're dealing with, right? Is that each side is sending deals that they know the other one's not going to agree to. So that way they can blame the other person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a new tweet out, Jordan, that says, per union source, there are no plans to continue the discussions tomorrow at the moment. Union says MLB did an about face and would not respond to any counteroffer unless the deal was approved that they had sent over about the the draft itself. So the fact
MLB was pretty clear about that. Yeah. They said you have these 3 options, make one.
Right. And they told them what they were going to do. They did it, and they're going to follow through with it. And the league, and it all goes back to this. It goes back to these billionaires aren't losing that much money. They're really not. So anything that they can save is a benefit to them, and anything that's going to benefit them is much more important. And we've learned that. Like, we've learned that people that are in the elite class are not interested in what you and I are doing on a Saturday afternoon where we can't go watch, the Orioles play or the Cubs play at Wrigley Field. Like, they don't they don't care about us. And you're going to start to do that to your fans. Like, you're going to start to isolate people who have been watching this game forever. I talked to my dad the other day, and he goes, this is just brutal. Like, it almost makes me not want to watch sports anymore. Like, it's become this way with the NBA. It's become this way with Major League Baseball. I told him, hey, we might want to watch soccer for now on. Like, it has become where these leagues, man, they're just the NBA is starting to have a real tough time with a lot of these players and a lot of these owners, and it's because of issues like this. You're going to see the same thing, except Major League Baseball didn't have the allure. If I go and I poll my classes, because I teach high school, if I go and poll my classes, Jordan, a majority of them are NBA or MLS or Premier League team fans. Like, they are fans of soccer, they are fans of basketball, and slowly the NFL and MLB are starting to lose ground. And it's because you're starting to see some of these ugly scars come out where, you've got the concussion stuff going on with the NFL. You've got this constant like money grab with the Major League Baseball because they know they're not as popular and they're losing popularity as the day goes on. It's really sad. Like, it's so sad to kind of watch the youth turn away. And you're talking about a youth, Jordan, that they needed to keep their attention because their attention spans are so low. Baseball's not the sport for that. And it's going to be really tough to keep young people invested. The way you keep young people invested is you treat, the fans right. They go and watch games in March and April. They watch these games knowing that they're going to get 162 games in. They're cheap seats, usually, particularly for sports in the United States. But now you're having these rich owners just kind of trample over, and the baseball players start to go, well, money's more important at this point.
Can we talk about some of these rules? Because I feel like some of that's going to help. I think some of that's going to help. So some of these rules that were proposed is banning the shift. Now, we don't know what that actually constitutes, if it's banning any sort of shifting or if it's just like you have to keep two people on the infield on the left side of second base and two people on the right side of second base.
Right.
Like, we don't know what that means, right? But a lot of people are against this because they say it takes the strategy out. I think we both said we were pretty for this, right?
Yeah, I hate it. I hate the shift so much. It's such
Me
crap.
Too. Here's the thing about the shift. While, yes, it's great strategy, it takes all of the athleticism out of the game. If you put Machado from third base all the way into shallow right field and the batter just hits a line drive right to him, that's a normally good hit, or the right fielder would have to make a hell of a play. But instead, you're not seeing anything. You're seeing the ball go 90 miles an hour right into a guy's glove, and you're like, oh, dang. And then people that just say adjust, just adjust and hit it the other way. You can't. If you ever seen some of these pitches that go 90 some miles an hour and then break at the last second, you see those overlays. You know what I'm talking about, Logan, where you see the ball and then you'll see like two different pitches and one drops crazy and one stays the same.
Yeah.
The hitters cannot adjust. These are the best hitters in the world. These are actually the best hitters to ever play the game because they're facing 100 miles an hour every single day. And they can't do it. And you know why they can't do it? Because it's very difficult to do it.
There's 90% of our population that wouldn't be able to even see the ball.
Right.
You'd be like, I'm just guessing. And when I face 90 miles per hour, you don't know what's coming. You just swing. You guess and you go, I hope this is a fastball, and I hope it's exactly where I'm thinking it's going to go, because it's not fun to try to hit anything else. And then they throw an 84 mile per hour slider, looks exactly like a fastball. It's the hardest thing to do in sports, and people argue with you time and time again. But it's it's the hardest thing to do in sports is to hit a baseball coming at you at 90 miles per hour.
I bet. I mean, I had trouble when they were throwing 60. But part of it, though, was I think I didn't wear my contacts. So, I mean, that
has a lot to do with it.
I didn't wear my glasses back then.
Yes, it's tough because baseball's small. So
yeah. So that's one of the we're for that. Cool. Again, it's just baseball is such difficult. And what you would do is you'd actually have more balls in play, and that'll make it more exciting for people watching, and that maybe keeps people's attention a little bit more. And you'll still have pitcher duels because the way players are set up in the field anyway is supposed to be the most optimal way. You have two people to the left of second, two people to the right of second, and three people covering all sections of the outfield. Like that's supposed to be perfect. So whatever. The other rule was bigger bases. which are an extra 2 inches each way, I think, or something, an extra 2 inches. They're thinking this is going to increase base steals probably, and that the safety. They're going to be not as tall. They're going to be a little lower. They're going to have a certain pattern on them that make the water rush off of them and not like be slippery. So you shouldn't slip as much. And people are not really going to notice when you're watching TV. This is not something anybody should care about. This should not be anybody being like, bigger bases.
I'm all for the pitch clock though. Like if they
we didn't talk about that.
figure that out. If they can figure out the pitch clock, I think it's ridiculous. There are guys that do, and it's borderline criminal. Like my dad and I talk about all the time. Yu Darvish used to be one that used to just take forever, just to throw the baseball. And you would have games where you're going and you're locked in for 4 hours because you have him and like Zach Davies throwing against each other, and they take forever. And then you got guys like Kershaw on them that don't take as long. So it's, again, you kind of just get into this. It lulls you to sleep. I know there were talks about getting rid of the extra inning rule, which they said wouldn't be a thing ever again. And
I thought you were going to say the show. Get rid of the extra inning baseball show. That's for the CBA.
Hey, that actually had exciting news. Boog Sciambi, Cubbies, the marquee announcer, the play-by-play announcer for the Cubs, Boog Sciambi, also ESPN, used to be ESPN, and Chris Singleton are doing this. So two White Sox and a Cub announcers. That's got to be ugly. But that's the new MLB The Show. Jordan, it might be the only baseball we get this year. So,
yeah, I'm not buying that one yet because I've still got my career on my on my MLB 20 that I'm still going through. So,
yeah. Well,
but yeah, that's what I'll be playing.
There won't be any players, like you're actually going to be playing with ghost figures because they can't use their likeness.
They can use the likeness, actually.
They?
Yeah, they make a direct deal with the MLBPA. So yes,
good.
They can. And actually, some of this money that they get from those deals and baseball card deals are what's going to be funding the players while the lockout happens. So if they need to miss time and miss months of seasons, they said they've had a lot of this stuff stored away from licensing deals and stuff. So that's how they'll get through, I guess.
Okay, I do feel bad for young players because players are not making money, and that is very tough and strenuous on a young couple. A lot of these guys, some of them 17, 18, 19 years old who are playing Major League Baseball, and it's like, I'm not making money, and I am considering doing other things. Well,
how about I'm looking at prospects.
Yeah.
This season was supposed to be an exciting year for the Orioles. Adley Rutschman supposed to come up, right? He's already like almost 24 years old, 24, 25, right? Because of how long he came out of college, right? And then they hold him down there forever, right? And then 2020, we didn't get any minor league system, so he didn't play any minor league in 2020. So then he had to make up that ground in 2021, and now you're thinking he's going to make the big leagues. But guess what? It's probably another shortened season. We're going to miss out on another prime year of Trout. Who's had some injury issues and also had the shortened 2020. I don't think he's played a full season since 2019. That's how rough we're going to have it with Mike Trout. And we're going to miss a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. Prospects are going to miss out on making their appearances and starting to make major league money, which again would have been $700K.
Legitimate seasons. A lot of these people aren't considering this a legitimate season. So I know a lot of fans, unfortunately, that'll get, the winner of this World Series might get the asterisk thrown up against them.
Well, that's what they were talking about on Talking Baseball before, is that 5 years from now, 6 years from now, we're probably looking back at this as like the baseball that didn't matter, right? 2020 short season, 2021 between a 2022 lockout, like
and crowdless almost,
and 2021 having like the Manfred runner on second and seven inning doubleheaders. Like, we're gonna look back at this period a decade from now and be like, that was bull crap.
Yeah,
yeah. And
the teams that had success, the teams that had success during this time period are not going to be looked upon like the Dodgers. I mean, I feel bad for the Dodgers. The Dodgers will always be lumped in as they were good pre-pandemic. They were good after the pandemic, but the year that they, it is, and it's with this, clump it in with, steroids, which we're just coming out of, but we're still having issues with constantly. Throw in the Astros cheating thing, and nothing
happened
ball from that
too, where they were using a deader ball to limit stuff that was making issues.
So
year.
Again, and then
the
you're
sticky
having
substances.
Right. Sticky. Yeah, I forgot. Sticky substance. Mound visits that take way too long, and you get about 36, so they had to stop those. Like it was like it's just straw, and eventually it is unfortunately going to break the camel's back. Jordan, you and I cover the Major League Soccer. People our age, their sport of choice. It's soccer
Mm-hmm.
in the United States. I never thought in a million years that I, one, would be a huge fan. Two, that's where we're flocking to. They've become,
No commercials.
yeah, right? 90 minutes, done. We know what to do. We know what to expect. It's never going to go longer than that, really. Maybe 110 minutes if we're lucky. Like, the predictability with baseball, there is none anymore. Like, there's no, like, this is a stable sport. The sport is not stable. The contracts are ridiculous. I mean, we're locking in Bryce Harper for 13 years. Like, you don't need Bryce Harper for 13 years. He will not be. Hell, the Cubs locked up Jason Hayward for like 8-9 years, and that was brutal to watch.
All
and
the
it
money's
still is.
guaranteed.
Yes.
Unlike football. It makes you wonder, football makes so much more money. Their careers are even shorter. How is their NFLPA not having this issue? How are they getting run over by the owners each time, or are they
Have
just
to be.
I mean, that's what I wonder. Like, how is it this sport that's always a problem, and it's like now the third biggest sport in the country? It shouldn't be having this much problems. And you don't want it to have this much problems because every single reporter says you're going to lose fans. Both sides need to know you need to make a deal because you're going to lose fans. And like you said, and I said, there's plenty of options, sports or otherwise.
Minor league's coming, Jordan. So
Yes.
that will give us something to cover, and that's
So if
good.
you want to give your owners more money, go see the minor league.
Right. I say stay out of the stadiums. Like, honestly, like if you're trying to find a way to hurt them in the pocket, if you're a fan, I know it sucks, but try your best to. Sounds crazy from a baseball podcast, but don't go to the games. Like, don't.
Well, I mean, some of the minor league teams are owned by
Right.
different
They
owners.
are,
So I mean, I would say, look, I'm already look. Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm not. I know a lot of people are saying, well, this is ruining the sport for me. I'm not gonna ever let this ruin sport for me. It can ruin the league for me or whatever, right? But I'm going to go to minor league games. I got a few around me. I'm looking at independent leagues. There's a Southern Maryland Blue Crabs, 2 hours from me, who play an independent league that are not affiliated with any Major League Baseball. I'm thinking of maybe seeing them. I'm thinking about going to some college games. I mean, there's ways to still see baseball and still support baseball. That is not Major League Baseball if you still need to get your fix. And not even to talk about, the Korean League and the Japan League, which usually play at hours where you're not going to be able to watch that much. But, there's ways to still watch baseball and enjoy the sport without, feeding into this. It's kind of like, soccer, where you have other leagues and other ways to support the sport. If the NFL was to ever have a lockout, it's really just college football. You're not going to have any other stuff. Here you have minor leagues, you have independent leagues, you have foreign leagues, you have college, you have tons of other ways to support baseball.
Lots of college going on right now. So
I've been watching
TV.
A lot of it.
I have too. There's been a bunch of stuff. ESPN Plus is perfect for college baseball if you want to watch some college baseball. Plus, when this league does get back up and running, you might be able to see some of the players that are rumored to go
drafted
into the draft, and some players that you think that your team might have a chance for. I know that was always fun watching Chris Bryant when he came through. Just being able to watch him and knowing that he was going to probably be a Cub was really cool. And I got to watch some of the games that he was playing, and I'm like, this dude could be a Cub, and that's awesome. So it is. It's a lot of fun. If you can go to college games, go to college games. They're a blast, and a lot of times they're playing. They play 3-game series. Like, you can go every night, or they'll play a back-to-back doubleheader sometimes. So it's a lot.
Though
of fun.
Towson loves starting at 3 p.m. or 1 p.m. I'm like, it's a Tuesday. What are you doing? But yeah, I'm looking to hopefully go to one of those games. I was thinking I might not make it out there if this deal was going to get done, because I'm trying to make some baseball games. But if this deal's not going to get done, I'm going to have plenty of time. I've already got minor league games planned that I'm looking at. Like, okay, we're going to go see some of these. But don't let it kill your enthusiasm for the sport. There's so many other ways to to see that and have the sport.
Jordan,
Now,
the average age of an MLB fan is 57. The average age of an NBA fan is 37. I guarantee you the average age of MLS is below 35.
Could be.
That's wild. Like the fact that it's 57, that tells you a lot, though. That this game can't afford this.
And it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
My dad is in his 50s.
The good old days.
And when you think about when that Ripken stuff was going on and when McGuire and Sosa was going on, they were in their 30s.
Yeah.
That's our age now. So, like, you can see why the average age would be around there, right? Because it was still exciting. There was still great stuff going on and until steroids hit. But, it's going to skew older. I think there's been a little bit of an increase with the younger, especially like John Boy doing his breakdowns, talking baseball. Like, there is a subset that is a young base here that is very, very into the sport and statistics and the numbers. And you hope that you're able. And look, the baseball, I don't think is ever going to die. You're always going to have your diehards. There will always be people that like it. I mean, if MLS can survive, and if Premier League lacrosse can survive, there's going to be a way baseball can survive.
Mhm.
Especially when you have Apple paying like $100 million for a deal. But I do want to have some fun, Logan, before we leave. Did you have anything to say before anything else? Because I do want to have some fun here.
Yeah, I'm tired of this lockout. Can you please end it? If you're listening to this, thank you. But please end the lockout. I really do. I'm tired of not having baseball. It's something I always look forward to this time of year because it tells me the spring's here. And right now, I've got really nothing to look forward to except MLS.
Yeah, I'm going to call Manfred right now, actually.
Okay.
And Tony Clark.
Gotcha.
I'm going to get them in a room together, and I'm going to say, don't cancel those games. Just make another deal, and let's accept this.
Fly them into Camden. You're there.
Yeah, right here. Yep. Okay, so I got a trivia game for you. Okay. So I have one for the next couple weeks here that I wrote months ago. Okay. Yeah, January 8th is when I wrote this trivia question. Okay. This week's trivia theme is about defunct ball clubs. Okay.
Oh, boy.
While most Baltimore baseball teams have been called the Orioles, right? There was a minor league team called the Orioles that Babe Ruth played for. And then there was now the Baltimore Orioles that are professional. From 1914 to 1915, there was another Baltimore team that played in the Federal League before the Federal League dissolved. What was their name? So one, I'm going to give you a chance to guess without any clues, and then I'm going to start giving you some clues to try to figure out this team name.
I don't know. I feel like back then, like they had, like I want to say it's an animal, but I don't know. Like I feel like for some reason, for something in my mind is telling me like the Baltimore Browns.
No, that was the Orioles came from the St. Louis Browns, though.
Yeah.
You are right. It is named after another state animal for the Maryland.
Like another state's animal.
No, it's named after like the Orioles, the state bird.
Yeah.
This is another state thing.
Oh.
That they were named after.
And it's an animal?
Yes.
Crab?
Oh. Nope. Okay, so clue number 2. The state animal is a reptile.
Reptile? You guys have reptiles there?
Yes.
I thought
Yes,
Florida did. Can't be like the turtle. Like that's not a turtle. Turtles. What is turtle? Is it an amphibian? Is turtle an amphibian? I don't know these. This is bad. This is showing you how much I know about
I'll say
science.
you're on the right track with turtle.
Alligator. That'd be really stupid, though. Why the hell would you be an alligator?
Why would you go alligator from turtle?
I don't know. Turtle, tortoise?
All right, clue number 3. This is your last clue. It shares its name with the University of Maryland athletics nickname.
Terrapins.
Yes, the Terrapins. We had the Baltimore Terrapins from 1914 to 1915. They played at Terrapin Park. So here's some cool trivia that I found from Wikipedia. So if it's incorrect, blame Wikipedia. When the Federal League started, the Terrapins severely cut into the minor league Baltimore Orioles attendance, causing financial problems for the owner of the Orioles. As a result, several players, including young left-handed pitcher Babe Ruth, were offered for sale to major league teams. Ruth's contract was purchased by the Red Sox after being turned down by Connie Mack and the Philadelphia Athletics. So really, this Terrapins had led to the Orioles having to sell Babe Ruth. They probably would have sold him anyway, but there's that. In 1914, Ruth began his career with the Red Sox. After the demise of the Federal League and the Terrapins, Baltimore would not see Major League Baseball again until 1954, when the St. Louis Browns moved into town and became the present-day Baltimore Orioles. So some fun trivia.
Like that.
Yeah, let me see if I can share real quick their jersey.
Did it have like the Maryland flag on their collar like the Terrapins do on their basketball jerseys?
No.
That was always cool to me. Like I always thought that was really cool because the Indiana and them had a really good, I think it's a Final Four game back when I was a kid. But they had like it was Shane Battier, I think, that throws back. But it had like the red, yellow, and white collar. It was really cool. You'll be excited to know this too, Jordan. There's an Orioles fan like right down the street from us. I guess they own houses because there's a Maryland plate place over there, and it had the
really
he had Orioles stuff in his garage. So.
Oh my goodness! You tell that guy, knock on that guy's door.
Give him the podcast.
Yeah, tell him that I'm a fan as well. All right, so here we go. Here's what their jerseys look like. If I can share this real quick. There we go. So they still used orange and black, apparently. You're on mute, by the way.
Is that a turtle?
Yep, there's a little turtle there.
I love it.
And
you should get a shirt, Jordan. They sell them.
They do. I know. I've been trying to get one. Here is another cool photo that I found as well. Boom.
Love that.
Me too. I actually use this now on one of the Oriole message boards I go onto as my avatar, the little turtle.
I really like that. That is really cool.
They have hats still. They have T-shirts you can find of it. Like I really want that. I had never knew that until I looked up defunct baseball clubs, and it's just something they played for like 2 years, and it's something that I think is really cool. And guess what? I have another one for next week. So
I'm excited. I wanted more. Like when you gave me that, I was like, I just want more now. Like just feed me more.
Yeah, too bad there wasn't a lot of information on the Terrapins. Like that's pretty much everything I said is what was known. But yeah, we'll definitely. I have a trivia question number 2 all ready to go for the next episode. And then I'll start working on some more as well. But it kind of fuses my passion for history and baseball together. So there you go.
I would say this is the one sport I think that history combined with the sport makes it what it is. Like this is the one sport that really I feel like if you're talking history, it's much more fun to go down history lane in baseball. And I think because of how old it is, and it's America's pastime, and that's what makes it so cool. Is because of how old it is and how successful it was. And then you had the wars. Like it would be fun to
legends.
Let's start doing it. Let's start doing it. We're locked out anyway. Maybe next week we can do like a. I don't know. We'll come up.
Well,
with
we had some lockout ideas. Let me read these out loud for people. Maybe if they want to share some ideas.
Or something.
We have what would you rather? You know, like, would you rather your club run like a big market team spending money on big free agents or a race situation where you never know which players will stay? We have what would cause the biggest uproar? New stadiums for classic clubs. Like if the Cubs got a new stadium or if Fenway was gone and the Red Sox got a new stadium, what would cause the biggest uproar? Which team has the better rivalry? The worst contract your team has given out? We got tons of cool lockout ideas if we need to keep going. But hopefully we don't have to keep coming up more than the list I just said.
It's like a whole nother year of just
A whole
lockout
year of
content.
just, well,
Could be interesting. And we never got to do our season previews of teams or divisions because we were going to do divisions instead of
Yes.
teams. So that's kind of a bummer. I guess we'll get to do that maybe, but it'll have to be probably expedited because I'm pretty sure they're going to try to get this thing quickly up underway. So I
we'd
imagine you
have
got to
those
give them a
3
couple
weeks
weeks.
of spring training to
Yeah.
do one for either each division, or we do 2 divisions a show and
Yeah.
try to wrap it up in 4 episodes, and that'd probably be good enough.
Be exciting. Well, anything else, Jordan, that you wanted to add in before we head on out of here?
No, I don't think there's anything else to really share.
It's our theme song. It's the 14301 Productions.
Yes, there you go. Night driving. We use this for our soccer pod, but it's just a nice calming thing. Let's all calm down, get our blood pressure down from this lockout situation. Just try to relax. Go see some minor league games. Go see some college games.
Go watch some MLS.
Go watch some MLS. Join us over there on Stateside Soccer Show.
Or you can listen to this podcast. We are the Extra Innings Baseball Show. You can find us over on Facebook at Extra Innings Baseball Show, at Twitter, Extra Innings Show, and on Instagram, Extra Innings Baseball Show. I'm Logan Stump. He was Jordan Wiegand. We really appreciate you listening to us. Hopefully we're not locked out for much longer, but if we are, Jordan, I think we got some pretty fun content coming down the pipeline. So
I'll tell you, this is one where the curtain is not open.
The curtain is not open. It's a steel cage.
It's a steel cage.
We are not allowed in. It's driving me batty. It really is. But yeah, we really appreciate you guys listening. Catch us again, hopefully soon, and hopefully it's with news of the lockout ending.
The Extra Innings Baseball Show is hosted by Logan Stump, edited and produced by Jordan Wiegand, and we hope that everybody enjoys us talking some baseball in this MLB 2022 season that is upcoming. Thank you.